So I am going to tell you about the reason I came back to participate in the war and what I did there. And for the end, you have a chance to ask me any question you want. And to heckle me. Heckle, you said? That's this wing. So again, my name is Liran. I'm 39 years old. I was born in Jerusalem. We moved here for my wife's job a bit more than a year ago, right? A year and 2 months ago, right? I would say 6 weeks before the war started, before October 7th started. Okay. This is our house. Some of you already know it. We got to Milwaukee in August of 2023, and it was like a dream for us, really. It was even a good weather, like now. Everybody told us bring some warm clothes, warm gear, and we got into a Middle Eastern weather. And warm wasn't only the weather, but also the people, as you know them. Sorry? The people were very warm, very welcoming here. Even the school was great for our daughters. And we really enjoyed it. We felt like nothing can go wrong, right? Nothing can go wrong. And we even wanted this was our first Shabbat dinner that we went to, Shabbat service, Shabbat dinner. We were very happy about the decision moving here. And one of the big moments was in here, in Sinai, Congregation Sinai, coming here for the Simchat Torah, for the celebration of the Torah. A Hebrew year ago, not a year ago, but a Hebrew year ago. It was a great event. We really enjoyed it. I think it was one of the first times that we went to shul together with our daughters, because in Israel it's not quite possible to go all together unless you find a specific synagogue. And we really enjoyed it, the scroll ceremony and everything. And wait, so something I must say that I just remembered that Noah always said it. So when we first came here, we thought that the main issue we're going to need to deal with is the inner problems in Israel. So the judicial reform protest and the judicial reform itself. But Noah was prepared for it, right? She was preparing for it for over a year, I think. And we came, and that's what we thought we were going to talk about all 3 years long. And another thing, I think Reed asked me last night if I intended to go back to Israel during those 3 years, and I told him my thought, especially when it was so great here at the beginning, my thought was, no, 3 years, we'll miss home, but we won't go back. It's so good here, and we will let our families, our friends, either visit us or miss us. So we didn't mean to go back to Israel. By the way, speaking of visit us, my cousin from Israel is here, but he didn't come all the way from Israel. He goes to Cornell University, so he's visiting for the holidays, and he will be participating in answering some of your questions because he's much smarter than me. Much more knowledgeable than me. Yeah, he is. And much more modest than me. And then it was a great night here, great service here for Simchat Torah. We went home so happy, so thrilled about being here and everything that this place can offer us and our daughters and our family as a whole. And then I woke up. You guys all know our age. We wake up a few times at night. I woke up to go to the bathroom, and I saw I have like 1 million of text messages in my WhatsApp, which is something that Israelis use in my WhatsApp app. At first, it seems like someone who just woke up to go to the bathroom and just want to go to sleep. It seems like another one of these violent cycles, which we had many. They fire rockets at us, we retaliate, and it will probably be over soon. I was so disconnected from, or detached from the event, that I remember my family sending me videos of interceptions over Jerusalem. Jerusalem is kind of rare to have sirens in Jerusalem. They usually don't bomb Jerusalem. And I asked them, were there sirens in Jerusalem? Because my whole family lives in Jerusalem. And they said, yeah, it's been already twice. And I said, whoa, that's crazy. That's something. And they said, that's crazy? You need to see what's happening in the south. That's the big deal. That's what's happening now. The south, the Gaza envelope. And then I forgot to say that I had 2 tickets for me and my daughters to go to a Badgers game that morning against Rutgers.
Are you rah-rah?
I kept reading about the team. Rutgers apparently was the place that college football started there, right? Okay, and I was so excited for my first football game here. Obviously, I didn't go to this game. And I didn't go back to sleep, obviously. It was kind of a tough morning for us. I don't know, Noah, when did you wake up to see the news?
So our daughter, Rona, woke up in the middle of the night and came to me and told me she can't sleep. Which was, go to sleep, go, try again. And she couldn't sleep, and she came over and over again saying, I can't fall asleep. So I had to look in the middle of the night, so around 4 a.m., so we all stayed up.
So it was a really tough morning for us, or night and morning. I'm sure it was the same for all of you guys, but we looked at it from the Israeli point of view. Having 2 young daughters at home, you have to act normally and you have to keep moving. So I took them to some park, to some activity that was there, trying to catch salmons. And I tried to act like it's normal, but it wasn't normal. It wasn't, okay, we were all, I don't know if you remember, but the first day, it wasn't only the October 7th event, it was also a fear from what else is going to happen. Will they breach from the north and from the east? Will they have some kind of an uprising from inner Israel? It was fear mixed with sadness, mixed with many other feelings. Then, what I saw, we have so many groups of our friends from the military service, our friends from the university, friends from soccer. I'm better at soccer than softball. I'm better in everything than in softball. I'm not a good softball player. And it seemed like we had a reunion. I joined the IDF, the Israeli military service, about 21 years ago, and we had a reunion of our basic training right before I left. And it was great to get together with everyone. We reformed our connection, and then they started sending who is going to the north, who is going to the south. Everybody were called up to a reserve service. And my feeling was, and what am I doing here? What am I doing to help, to contribute to my country in these tough times? I would say, before I start my story, that I came here as a discharged officer in the military. I wasn't supposed to be called up for the war. I wasn't formally called up for the war because I'm what you call here a disabled veteran. I was discharged of service. And the last thing I would think is that I will go back. Again, we said we didn't mean to go back to Israel. The last thing I would think is I would go back to Israel for a military service. After long years, I had a chat with my mom, and she said, "Don't even think of it." I have one son who is far away. My twin brother and my younger brother are also combat officers, and they were in service at the same time. And she said, "I'm not having a third son in the military right now in the war. Don't even think of it." And I was, you know what? I didn't really think of it seriously because we were just adjusting here. Noah still works like crazy. I didn't want to leave him alone here. And you know, we came here August, October, my daughters didn't even speak English. Some of you can testify, right? They didn't even speak English. They were new at school, new country, new culture, new language. So I decided to stay. And then there was two things that happened that kind of changed my mind or pushed me over the edge. One of them was Yossi Hershkovitz. Yossi Hershkovitz, 42 years old, he's a school principal. 5 kids from Jerusalem. His parents are good friends with my parents. His father is a carpenter, so he's actually a client of my parents. And he was killed in the war in a blow-up of a tunnel light. And I said to myself, this guy is a school principal, he's the father of 5 kids. What am I doing here? I mean, everybody goes to work. Why am I still here? I try to do many efforts of hasbara, of posting stuff, of chatting with other people to try to explain to them what's happening in Israel, but I felt like it's not enough. And then I don't know if you know. By the way, Yossi is a violin musician, and I don't know if you heard of Idan Amedi. Idan Amedi. Have you heard of him? He's a singer. He became famous after he won, or he was the runner-up in like America Got Talent, but the Israeli version. So it's probably Israel Got Talent. But he got famous because he came with the approach. He was 21 years old. He was still in his mandatory military service, and he went there with the uniform and everything, and he became so famous. And he was born and raised in our neighborhood, so he was the pride of the neighborhood. And then he was also in Fauda. If you watch Fauda, the tall guy, Sagid, that's Idan Amedi. And he was severely wounded in Gaza. He's a combat engineer soldier, and his truck of explosives blew up, and he was really all burned. And I don't know what's his condition right now, but good. Yeah. that was also a big moment. He's my age, he's maybe 2 years younger than me, and he's a famous singer. He went into Gaza, was wounded in the war, and that was one of the moments that I decided that I'm convincing my wife to go back. I called one of my friends who was a battalion commander and told him, can you enlist me back to service? He said, yeah, they're doing it pretty often right now because they need so many new soldiers, or so many soldiers to come back to service, so it's kind of easy. I did try to do it many times before, to get back to service before the war, actually twice, and they didn't let me. And those of you who were here for my previous talk know that some of what I did, what Avner described earlier, was because of this feeling of guilt that I'm not doing enough for my country, so I did something in the field of education and nationally. So I said, okay, I'm doing this. I don't need to go back to service, and they won't let me, so it's not my choice. But then my friend said, you're in the list because it's so easy to do it right now, so I was in the list. And then he said something like, but I don't need any more officers. And you don't want too many officers in your company, in your battalion. So you should find another unit to join. But you're already back in service, so that's good news. And then I saw an ad. It started to be like almost job hiring processes in Israel. We need combat officers for this, we need soldiers for that. So I saw an ad saying, we need soldiers, combat soldiers, over 35 years old, check, with certain infantry training, so check, and mental resilience. I don't know about that. But I said it will probably be tested in real time. So let's test it. So I replied to this ad and applied for this position, and I had a Zoom meeting with the officer that recruited people to the unit, and he said, look, you remember what happened in Philadelphia Axis when we were younger? He was about my age. In Philadelphia, before Netanyahu started using Philadelphia as an incentive to keep going in the war or something like that, Philadelphia was a symbol. It's a road on the Gaza-Egypt border. It's a road that became a symbol, or the name became a symbol for a big incident that happened there when a vehicle full of explosives and troops inside was blown up by an RPG missile, and small parts of the soldiers just spread all over. And this is a very famous picture from their friends crawling on the floor to look for their body parts, their friends' body parts. Imagine how horrible. And so he asked me, do you remember this Philadelphia? And I said, of course. He said, that's what we're trying to prevent. We don't want the friends who lost soldiers who lost their friends just a minute ago to go look for their body parts. We need soldiers and officers to go into the battlefield and do this job in order to first bring the soldiers, the late soldiers, into burial, and to give some certainty to their families that they know they're not missing in battle, in combat, they're dead, and to get the unit keep going do what they did back then. So I said, oh, that's terrible. I'm in. And he said, good. It was March. He said, okay, our company is, the rotation says that our company goes to Gaza in May or in June. So prepare yourself to June. And I said, no, I have time now. I have like a month now that Noah allowed me to go. I'm allowed is a strong word to describe it. I can't wait till June. Maybe I won't be available in June. So he said, you know what? You can join the other company. You can belong to my company and be borrowed by the other company. They need soldiers as well. He explained to me that one of the reasons why the entire unit, the entire battalion needs more and more soldiers was mainly because what they did since October 7th was collecting bodies and body parts. So you can imagine what happened to the soldiers mentally. So many of them just retired from the unit and said, we had enough, we can't go on anymore, but the job needed to be done. And they needed combat soldiers to do it because it's in the battlefield. It's going where the battle just happened. So I went. Oh, by the way, that's the unit. It's called Yasar. Some of us have soft shell jackets of the unit. Yasar is, by the way, is the acronym of Yechidat Srika, which is the scanning unit, which is what they practically do. You form a line in the battlefield and you just scan to find parts of the soldiers. A few months earlier, there was. How many of you went to the DC? Yeah, I know we were together. You were there. You were the reason why you felt safe in this rally. And I don't know if you remember, but during the rally or before the rally in DC, they handed out, I don't know if I can say merchandise, but it was kind of merchandise of the hostages, of bring them home, of supporting Israel. And I, from the pile, I took a pin, like a round pin, of a hostage named Karina. Do you know who she was? Didn't know anything about it besides the fact that she's 19 and her name is Karina. When I went back to Israel, it was on St. Patrick's Day. How do I know it was St. Patrick's Day? Because it's my birthday. So I landed in Israel on March 17th, and I had second thoughts the minute I landed in Israel. Why did I go? Why did I have to do it? What if something happens to me? And many other thoughts. And I took the tram, the light train which is a big thing in Jerusalem. I don't know if you had a chance to ride it. It's a great thing. I took the tram to my parents' house from the central bus station here in Jerusalem. And I was carrying my backpack, which had, since the rally, I had the pin of Karina on my backpack. And I was going, passing by my old high school. And I saw a familiar face on a banner on the high school's fence. Who can read Hebrew? Avner?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're filming. Can anyone read Hebrew and not be filming at the same time? Okay, so I saw the sign that said the Pisgat High School, my old high school, calls for the release of Karina Araya, the hostage, who is a graduate of our school. So it was like a goosebump moment for me because I carried this pin all the way without knowing who she was. And suddenly I see she's a graduate of the same school I went to. And I said to myself, okay, I came to the right place. I'm doing the right thing. I need to be here. Since then, there were some videos released of Karina Rayev. The left one is from the moment she was abducted. The middle one was in captivity. And there is Karina with two other hostages in some psychological warfare video that Hamas released. Digging graves, mass graves in Gaza. So we had the chance to bring some bodies that were sitting there for a long time inside mass graves and examine them if there are hostages, and in many cases they were our hostages. And then we brought the other bodies, the rest of the bodies, we brought them back in much better formation or way of wrapping than we took them. So that was another mission, and we secured, there were many civilians crossing the borders and scanning for, when I went there in March, there was such a big uncertainty about who's alive, who was abducted, who died on October 7th, who was killed and then their body was abducted. There was a chaos in it. So we wanted to look for bones and other parts to give some certainty to the families. It's funny, but most of what I took from this experience was the stories. Because, you know what, I went there when it was kind of calm, if you can call it that way. It was the waiting to enter Rafah. So it was kind of stressful, but also calm. Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to go inside and rescue bodies, but it wasn't as crazy as it was before. And I found soldiers, some of them young soldiers, by the way, who were totally in need of someone to listen to their stories. Because they've been telling their stories since October 7th to anyone who just would listen to them, and they ran out of people to listen to them. And their friends had the same experience. They recovered the bodies from the kibbutzim, from the burned houses, kids, babies. They went into the war rooms where there were the female soldiers just burned down, and they entered. My unit was one of the first ones to go into the perimeter area in Gaza, because there were bombings of Israeli helicopters to prevent kidnapping. So they brought so many body parts from there to see who is a terrorist, who is an Israeli hostages. So they had crazy stories, and I felt like instead of me, they should have recruited a psychologist. But they had, at any time, they had like 4 psychologists in the unit. That was their role, to listen to them, but they already heard everything. I mean, if I told you once, I tell you twice, that it loses the meaning. So I came there, fresh meat, and they wanted to tell me all the stories. I wasn't really prepared for it, I must say. But it really prepared me for the mission, so yeah. This was the first time we went in. Can you see the?
Mm-hmm.
You can hear the sound.
They let you film?
This was outside of Gaza, the entrance to Gaza. This is me. This is us. We went with a few Humvees inside with how you call it? Shuttles. And then this was what? Okay, and this was the going out of Gaza. So you see Gaza looks uh, like Gaza right now. It was really tough missions to do, but I felt very, very meaningful this time. And I got back here with stories, both mine and my experiences and the others. By the way, I didn't tell you that Stav and Yakir, my two brothers, were let off before I came. So I was the only son in service, but then after I left, they had to go back as rotation. They both had to go back. And my younger brother, Stav Gerasi, was in Gaza at that time. That's it. He was in Gaza. He's higher rank than me. He's a major, and I'm a captain, even though he's 4 years younger. But it's not a
Not an issue.
we don't compete at all. And he went to the war. Okay. How did we know he's in Gaza? He didn't tell any of us that he's in Gaza, but my brother-in-law, Noah's brother, met him inside Gaza and took a selfie. And I sent it to Stav, to my brother, and said, "Are you in Gaza?" And he said, "Yeah, but don't tell anyone. Don't send this photo to anyone." And then Stav was wounded in Gaza. He was under a mortar shells attack, and two soldiers stood next to him were killed, and he got a small piece of the mortar shell here, and it was just a miracle, really. It was a miracle that he survived it. And that happened one day before I had my second flight to Israel. And my mom already knew I'm coming back. She was already angry at me for coming back. I was supposed to go and be at the same division as Stav inside Gaza. And she called me here that day and she said, Stav was wounded in Gaza. Cancel your flight now. That's what she said. And hung up. And then she called me again. Okay, have you canceled your flight yet? And I said, no, it actually made me want to be there even more. And she said, that's what your father said you would say, and hung up. And that's really what I felt. I felt I want to be there even more after my brother was wounded there. The next time I went was, I was actually contacting the guy who recruited me to that company and said, okay, you're on the list, you need to be here in June. And I said, I can't be there. No, vetoed it. I can't be there. Eventually, Noah would let me go, but it was too late. They said, we don't have room anymore. You need to go look for a different unit. And some guy who knew me from officers training contacted me and said, we are opening a new unit. A new unit of combat assistance, it's called it. We're recruiting infantry soldiers to do logistics and evacuating of wounded soldiers and mobilizing soldiers and other stuff. Do you want to join us? We're in Gaza, in the same division as Stav was before he got wounded. So I said, yeah, I'm my wife allowed me to go. Again, I don't know if allowed. We should, for the next talk, we should think of a different word. And I went there, and I was introduced. It's a unit that was formed from the lessons, following the lessons learned from the Russia-Ukraine war. That we now control many parts of Gaza, but we need logistics. We need some way to get logistics inside, and food, and even mobile bathrooms, and everything that has to do with soldiers sitting there and waiting for the next missions. So these are some of my gang members, squad members in the Gaza beachfront. Can you recognize me? Josh can recognize me, right? I'm first time in my life that I'm told a story. And coming back from Milwaukee, where everybody's much taller, it was a great moment for me. Because we went inside Gaza a lot, and it was the same division as Stav was, my brother. I got to meet many of his friends, his mates, and they all, are you Stav's brother? It was, I think, the first time I became Stav's brother. Are you Stav's brother? Is he okay? Send him our greetings and our blessings. We pray for him. So, and most of what we did, what I did there, because I didn't serve for a long time, I told them I'm coming just as a soldier. I'm not coming as an officer and nothing. First day, when I came to the base, I was on trial. I went on, that's how you say it? Like a military trial? Because I lost my boots, and they needed to bring me some new pair, so they sentenced me. I was found not guilty. But, and then I went there without my ranks because I didn't want him to think, oh, he's an officer, we will let him be an officer here, which is always the worst. So the big commander came to me and said, it says here you're a captain in the form of the trial. It says here you're a captain. I said, yeah, I'm a captain, that's my rank. He said, why aren't you wearing your ranks? I didn't want to say, so you won't know I'm an officer. So I said, I didn't think they should. So then he made me wear my ranks, and then my direct commander came to me and said, Gerasti, we call each other with last names. Gerasti, are you an officer? I need to start a new platoon, because the one platoon that we have doesn't have the capacity to do all the missions that we have, so I need to start a new platoon, and I was looking for an officer. It was, for him, it was like a miracle happening. A soldier became an officer. For me, it was a disaster. Most of what I did during that time that I was in Gaza was we woke up every morning very early, went to the border, and started leading convoys inside Gaza. So sometimes it was just our two Humvees with something in it, with a doctor in them, or something like that. Sometimes it was huge trucks that went in. We call in English the mobile, portable bathrooms.
Porta-johns.
Whatever you said. So many times we needed to take them out, empty them, and get them in. Just imagine that's what sometimes I did in Gaza. You're looking for a hero story. But it was always very, very scary. Because you're always, you give the briefing before going out to the mission. You try to make the soldiers less stressful, even though you are inside Gaza, and you go very slowly. This is a convoy that I led with 5 big trucks. Imagine you're going so slowly in Gaza, where everywhere there could be an ambush, and we finished every day exhausted. We were sitting most day long, but we were exhausted because of the alertness. You always have to be alert. You always have to. Sometimes you just see something moving, some bush moving because of the wind, and you shoot because you're afraid. It's really scary. Okay, and the scariest one was the night missions. Usually mobilizing soldiers or troops to the front line, to a new mission, to a new raid or something, was during the night, and it was even, you can probably imagine it was even scarier. I think Josh can testify the same, right? Very scary. You see everything green, because you have the night vision, so the world becomes green, which is kind of scary too. But again, you need to lead the soldiers, the troops, to their front lines to do the next mission, and you can't do it in daylight. One time, okay, that's not the example that I wanted. I will tell you about the next example. This was one time that we were in just a logistics mission, and they told us, Pettenstein, that was our name in the radio, Pettenstein, you have to stop. And we said, why? We're going to clean bathrooms or something. We're going to do a logistic mission. Why do we have to stop? No, there is a sniper spotted in one of the buildings. So we stopped, we took cover. We heard a jet coming above us, and the biggest boom I've ever heard in my life. And then we went out of our cover, and we saw this. We saw the building where the sniper was. There wasn't supposed to be anyone in this building. So it was blown up, and they said, Pettenstein, you can go now. So we kept going. And just imagine if we wouldn't get the message on time that there is a sniper. So this was kind of scary. Another nice incident was, they told us to come to some place, to arrive to a certain location in Gaza, and they said, but don't go any further than this spot. And then we didn't know what they want from us, but there was our sniper there. And they told us later that they spotted an ambush of 2 Hamas terrorists waiting for a convoy to go by, and they tempted them to go out of their ambush by bringing us there. So we were the bait for them, and they shot them in their legs. We took them to get medical care, the terrorists, and to interrogation base inside Gaza. So that was another nice something. I don't know if you do it, but I actually asked last week if I can talk about it, and apparently it's not a secret. You know this kind of vehicle, armored vehicle, M110, something like that. 113. Thank you. When I came here, I showed Josh a photo from my original military service in second Lebanon War. I told him that was my vehicle there, and he said, "Really? We stopped using it after Vietnam War." So I can tell you that finally the IDF stopped using these vehicles, and they now use it as like kind of an explosive barrel. So they put it in somewhere they need to destroy, an area of buildings or something called evacuated areas, and we don't even need to blow them up. We just put it there. That's something that we did a lot. We put it there, and it's full of explosive, and then the terrorists come and say, okay, there is a vehicle full of troops inside, and they fire anti-tank missiles on it, and our work is done. Just imagine the trucks that lead these kind of heavy vehicles and how slowly they go inside Gaza, and it's kind of tough. One time that we had a mission to bring troops in the middle of the night somewhere, and it got delayed, and we said, we shouldn't go there at daylight, because it's not clear yet the area, and the division said, you have to go there, you have to bring the troops, that's our mission. And what happened is, fortunately for me, I was in a Humvee in the back of the row, but look what happened to our, I don't know if I can do a full screen, no, apparently not. Can you see? Okay, these were some parts of our convoy. And it was an RPG missile fired them. It was a very scary moment. I will show you where it was. Because later, it was published by Hamas. They always, when they do something, they film it and they publish it. Now, no one got hurt in this incident. The RPG missile was shot at the first Humvee, missed them. They said this is the front of the Humvee. It went like this, between them and the shield, which is crazy. Many miracles happened in Gaza, and then Hamas published it. So it was already in the morning time when we needed to do it in night time. So one of the last Humvees is mine. So you see, that's how they, yeah. So this was my friend over there. Yeah. So, sorry.
Microphone.
Sorry. One last mission. I had one last mission to do in Gaza Strip, and my brother-in-law Hanan texted me and said, "We're going into Gaza now for a mission. Do you want to meet at the border?" Which is a funny thing because it's a social gathering outside of the border. And I said, "Yeah, I'm coming out now, finishing the mission, and I'm going in like 10 minutes. Let's get together because it was my last day. And I'm going back for 2 years." So we met at the border. He was preparing to go in, and I went out and preparing to go in again. And I told him, please don't send this photo to anyone, because you remember what happened last time you sent the photo? Please don't send it to anyone until I tell you to do it. And he didn't send it until I think until my plane departed from Ben Gurion Airport. He didn't send it to anyone. But then going back to my parents' house a night before my flight, I managed to meet my brother, who was already back to his military base. A day earlier, he told me, "Don't tell anyone, but I'm going into Gaza, and I think I'm going to be in a post right next to you. So if you want to visit me," and I was super busy, and he was super busy, so we didn't have a chance to meet inside Gaza, but then I went to meet him in his room, in the base. He was really depressed. He actually he left his 4 years old son at home, and a pregnant wife, and his wife gave birth to a baby girl a few months later, like 2 months later, after he was wounded and everything. So, they sent me a photo after I left. They kept going. I needed to go, but they kept going. They sent me a photo, which was, it was a big moment for me because I realized what was the biggest thing in this spell, in this term that I did. I went there, it was a new unit, so people gathered from different backgrounds. There was some case of civilians in Gaza walking by, and two women approached us. Now, I knew from that previous unit I served in that many times they approach you and then they blow up, or they spot you and then they tell someone else to fire at you. And I didn't know what to do. I mean, they seem innocent. So I asked, can anyone, I didn't want to shout at them and keep them away. So I asked my squad, who speaks Arabic here? And one of them told me, I do. And he went and spoke with them in Arabic, fluently. And he explained to them where are the safe zones that they can go to get shelter. And I asked him, how do you speak Arabic so well? And we asked him, we were very impressed. He said, I'm Arabic. I said, what do you mean? His name is Adam Wahama. I said, I'm Arabic, what do you mean? He served in the Navy, and the Navy soldiers don't do reserve service because they have a limited amount of vessels. And so he really wanted to join. He was an excellent soldier, great with the machine gun, and a very smart guy. And he spoke Arabic, which is amazing. We had a female driver, Humvee driver, and I told her when I left, I told her that if my daughters were in Israel, I would bring them into Gaza to meet her, just to show her how great she is. She was kind of stressed up always, but she was great. We had two 50 years old elite unit soldiers who were discharged long ago due to their age, and they joined, and we had two other soldiers from the most elite units in the Israeli military who decided they want to join, and we had such a great mixture. We had 3 soldiers with severe PTSD. 2 of them are not in the picture because they left at some point. They couldn't bear, we evacuated wounded soldiers and they couldn't deal with it, so they left. But the fact that they volunteered to keep fighting, to rejoin the military, even though they were recognized as PTSD, was amazing. I think that really reflects what happens now in Israel, in terms of people go, risk their lives, meet other people from different backgrounds, different political views, obviously. We had many clashes and debates. I had a radical right-winger religious guy and a lefty guy who kept arguing in the Humvee in the back, so I sent them to the other Humvee because I had enough of them. But that was Israel for me. It was amazing, and to see them join with so much motivation was great. Some current events. So I think this photo was very symbolic. You know when it was taken? After one of the previous violent cycles in Gaza, he wanted to show he's still in control, Sinwar, and he went into the rubble, put the couch there and sat on it. And my feeling when I went down to Gaza, and I think it even improved since then, was this. That's not Sinwar, that's me in a hotel in Gaza, which was turned into a military post. But that's just to show you that we control it. I mean, all we have to do now is convert it into some agreement to let everybody live in peace, which I think that's what we really want, most of us. Some will say the government doesn't want it, but I think the people, that's what they want. And that's it. Yeah. Now it's Packers game, haven't started yet. Don't rush out. Questions? שאלות? Yeah.
So we've made some progress, it seems, with the elimination of Sinwar. Is there, from an internal Israeli perspective, is there progress that can be made with the government to bring us closer to a ceasefire hostage exchange?
The Israeli government?
Yes.
I think that, and I think I told you that that's what I think. I think that the main problem was the Israeli government stated their goals for the war at the beginning, so now they can't back down from the goals of the war. I think many of the goals are not realistic, but they wouldn't stop the war until those goals are achieved. And the main goals are, some of them are pretty, would seem pretty obvious to you as Americans. Living without a threat from Gaza Strip would be kind of, no? You want to live without any threats from Mexico, right? Or from Canada. What's the Canadian threat? And release of all the hostages. I think in order to stop the war at some point, some compromise will have to be made. But maybe you can tell me which field would you compromise on? Keep the threat in Gaza, not eliminating Hamas, or not getting back all the hostages. So it's kind of a tricky situation, tough situation right now. And I think I'm very happy. I didn't want to even be an officer in the service, so I'm very happy I'm not the prime minister or any kind of political leader right now. I hope I answered your question in a way. Okay. Yeah.
Well, then, what your assessment? How close to eliminating Hamas? Or
So Hamas, as long, and they say it, and it's like it will sound like a joke, but they say it. As long as they have one member alive with only 2 fingers left to go out at the end of the war and signal the victory sign, they're not eliminated. So how close we are, we're not close. I mean, they do not function anymore as an organized terror group or military group or militia. But some of them are still alive, and that means they can still ambush us, and they can still fire rockets at our civilian areas. Sometimes one rocket a day is a big deal because you have sirens all over the area. So on one hand, we're not close to eliminating them all. But on the other hand, I think we're getting close to some end game.
and they're not just in Gaza either.
Right, but we're talking about Hamas in Gaza right now. We should talk about the 7 fronts that we have. It's for a day for a day we don't have the Packers game. Yeah.
I noticed you had your cell phone on inside Gaza.
Right.
Is that
Flight mode. Flight mode.
Flight mode?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were known not to do that once you got inside.
Mm-hmm.
And other people were doing that also.
Mm-hmm. I was in charge of them doing it. So if they didn't turn the flight mode on, it's my fault. So we mostly we didn't want them to identify many phone signals entering Gaza at the same time, or moving in some area at the same time. But yeah, flight mode is the answer.
Is your other brother okay?
My younger brother,
You had
my twin brother. Wait, yeah, he's okay. Where is he? Yeah, this is my twin brother. Unfortunately for him, as you can see, it doesn't look like me. But he's okay. He really enjoys reserve service. I think he does it a lot. So once they tell him, we don't need you anymore, that's when you ask this question: is he okay? But for now, he's okay. He did his service. He always does his service in the Judea and Samaria area, not in Gaza, not in Lebanon. So my younger brother just, I wish I could show you this photo, but he just posted a photo with his newborn girl, daughter, and his son wearing uniform and saying, okay, up to Lebanon. So he's now in the Lebanon front. So, but we don't have enough soldiers. That's why we change one sock for the other.
Recycle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
You're next.
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just curious, sort of in connection with the Gaza question, is how do Israelis deal with sort of UNRWA, the UN, sort of Western governments sort of giving not wholeheartedly supporting Israeli efforts to eradicate terrorism?
It's a very good question. It's something that we deal with all the time. By the way, all is Noah. You could.
Well, we enjoy that somebody else thinks we answer.
Threw me under the bus. I think the main disappointment is the fact that we had such great support on October 7th, October 8th, which in a way gives us the message that they really like us and they really support us when we're killed in masses.
Until October 15th.
Yeah. And I would tell you that many Israelis now hold this grudge, this feeling inside of them. Why is it too much to ask to eradicate the radical or the extremists, on our borders? Why is it too much to ask? Because we're Jewish, because we're Israelis, because the world, and I can understand the international community, they don't want wars. I mean, it's bad for economy, it's bad for environment, it's bad for everything else. But I think this time is different, because in previous skirmishes, we used to wait, how back in school we used to fight someone and just wait for someone to separate us? The boys here, we used to fight and waiting for someone to save us. In previous cycles, both sides waited for someone from the international community to say, okay, it's time to stop. I think this time Hamas was counting on it to happen again. Okay, we attack them, we do something. If you ask me, it got out of control as they see it now. They realized shortly after it happened that it's not really what we planned. We planned on a military operation, but there was torturing, there was rape, there was mutilating and beheading, and these are the things, the actions that prevented them from going to Tel Aviv, from getting to Tel Aviv eventually. It got out of control. But you can't be surprised when your militants, terrorists, get out of control when you teach them to hate Jews and to kill Jews since they were born. We start a war, we go in, we kill some Israelis, we kidnap the others, and Israel will retaliate. The United States will say eventually around March, if you don't stop the war, we won't give you any more ammunition and missiles. And the European Union, so the war started October 7th, Hamas probably said the European Union will tell Israel to stop it on October 8th, and the UN. So they were counting on Israel to stop because of the international community orders. And I think that this time, the way Israel and Israelis look at it, it is a bit different. In the past, they would say, let's not get into trouble with the United States. Let's not get into trouble with the Europeans, but it's not how they feel right now. Most Israelis. You were next? Yeah?
What happened with the tunnels? How did that ever get going? And how did they ever build that? With the most, Israel has probably the most sophisticated security in the world of any country. How did they build those? I don't know how many tunnels there were, but didn't the Israelis know these tunnels?
I think that the main upside, if you could even say something like that about the terror tunnels, is that you dig a hole and then no one can see what you actually build down there. No drone, no helicopter, no even troops can't really see where you dig it, how long it is, what you put inside. I mean, Sinwar was just shown going into the tunnel October 6th with TV and refrigerators and food supply for months. You can't really know. I think we all knew, maybe all can elaborate on that even more, but we all knew there are tunnels both in Gaza and in Lebanon, but there's nothing really you can do besides start a war. And we didn't have the justification to start a war upon having tunnels threatening us. Who would let us start a war to eliminate the tunnels? No one. We only got the justification to start a war when 1,200 Israelis died, were killed, and 250 were kidnapped. So I think they knew about the tunnels. That's how they got there quite easily, eventually, when they went in ground invasion to Gaza. Again, I'm not a military expert, but that's what I see and feel and sense. Oh, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, there was an article by Ronen Bergman, who I can tell, but I was in the intelligence for 6 years.
Wait, repeat it so you get the credibility you deserve.
I said that I was in the intelligence for 6 years. I was also, how do you say the rank?
Captain?
Captain, yeah. I was also an officer and captain. And yeah, there wasn't information about the tunnels, of course, and there was even information about October 7th. But the problem was the big picture. The assumption was that they wouldn't want to do any military action. The thought that they were satisfied with the money gave to them, and that was this conception that all the people talk about. So the knowledge, the pieces of information was there, but no one saw them. Like they were talking about the big project. No one has spotted it in the intelligence because of this wider picture that, okay, what could be the big project? Never mind, let's put it aside. But then when they go back to the material, they spotted it and they saw it. And so the information was there, the tunnels, of course, that was there, and also in Lebanon you can see the differences between Lebanon and Gaza. In Lebanon, there is multiple years effort of intelligence, a lot of information, a lot of good information, and you can see the differences between the two fronts.
Before I let you ask a question, I will tell you a short story that on the way to Milwaukee, in the Polish airline that we went with, I told Noah, I have a feeling something big is going to happen from the north, from Lebanon, while we're in Milwaukee. During our 3 years here, something big is going to start with Lebanon. I think that was the intelligence approach too, right? Or we all thought something big, they're building up to do something big, to infiltrate, to conquer the Galilee. That was their plan. And I think that was one of the problems why the failure was so big in the south, because they were all preparing for something from Lebanon. Question?
Yeah, it seems to me with all of these people flowing into Gaza and Lebanon, etc., and out, that there's nobody, I won't say nobody, but a lot fewer people left in Israel to take care of the businesses, to take care of the farms, to take care of all the stuff that's going on day to day. What kind of impact is that having on the Israeli economy and the people living there?
I want to be honored by the community Shita to.
Yes. He's my plus one. I'm very honored and thankful for his effort, that he joined the effort of Shlichut, which is very important. That's an amazing question. Liran shared with you that Stav, his brother, left his wife and his kids. My brother left his wife and his newborn, and they left their jobs. And their bosses left their job because they're serving also. I think one of the biggest political issue that the Israelis are facing right now is the question of how many soldiers do we need, how many soldiers do we have, and how many soldiers potentially we have that are not coming to serve. And I'm talking about, of course, I think it's 64,000 yeshiva boys that supposed to serve, but they're not because the government's saying they shouldn't. They're gonna vote on it very soon. I'm reading every day posts of miluimnikim, reserves people that saying help us. We need help. We need how do you say in basketball when there's doing
assist the rotation, yeah.
We need someone to substitute us, even for a week, even for a month, so we can go back to our homes, take care of our families that are in a really bad shape, and go back to our jobs, because we're not sure that we're going to have somewhere to go back to after we're done with the service. This is one of the things that I think most of the reserves saying we're proud to serve, we're happy to do it, but the price is too high right now. So we all look to see if our government will react in a, responsible way and understand that it can't go on like this anymore. But don't keep your hopes. Don't hold your breath on it. I have to share a story, if it's okay with you. When Liran came back the second time, and I wish you had the photo of it, but he said, I'm just telling you that my commander said that they're sending something to the wives, to share the appreciation, the support and appreciation, and I was like, okay. And one morning, I had a box on my front door, and at the Jewish Agency Security, they tell you, if you have a box on the front of your door and you don't know what this box is, don't open it. So I see it, and I didn't do the connection, and I was very stressed about it, because it's the second time that I'm getting something unfamiliar. So I texted the security guard from the Jewish agency, listen, I have this box, I don't know what to do. And he said, contact your family and friends, ask them if someone sent you something, and if not, just put it in the garbage. I should have contacted Ari. Or Josh. And we said, okay, I'm going to go to Josh. Our neighbor is our angel. And then Ilan is telling me, hey, you remember that my commander is sending something. And I'm looking on the sticker, and it said it's from an art business. And I was like, ooh, the army sent me an art piece. I'm so excited. I opened the box, and inside, there is a big photo on a Canva of Liran and his two commanders in uniforms and guns, and they wrote in English, which is funny because they know we speak Hebrew, but they wrote in English, to Noah, Rona, and Lihi, thank you for your support. And I was like, are you kidding me? This is the gift that you sent me as a support. I need to look at it and remember the time that he left me here in Milwaukee by myself in the winter. So that's my story as the wife of Reserve. Plus one.
Thank you, Josh. Okay. Oh, Mike, yeah.
How do you feel, Noah, Israelis in general, about the optics or the way the world views what's going on? Because the press coverage is so... Pardon? The press coverage is so negative, skewed. You hear, obviously, you said it, on October 7th, the world supported Israel because there were 1,200 dead, 250 hostages, horror stories. But then weeks later and months later, you're seeing the images from Gaza, the babies, the kids, and then the numbers, 10,000 dead, 20,000 dead, 30,000 dead, 40,000, maybe up to 50,000 now. We don't know if the numbers are accurate, but what's the general feeling in Israel and from you about what that means? Does that deter the Israelis in any way from continuing? It's a struggle. It's a fight for survival.
Yeah, here, I think this time is a bit different. The last times we also saw some devastating footage from Gaza Strip, the last cycles, and it made us think that maybe the retaliation is disproportional in a way. I really think that this time it's different because it's the first time since 1973, that we really feel like it's an existential war that we fight. And it's not only existential because we have 7 fronts for a tiny country. How tiny it is. So when we came here, we realized that the partnership is of Milwaukee Jewish community is with the Sea of Galilee area, so we have Kinneret. And we said, okay, that's a lake, you have a lake, we have a lake down there, up there. And then you compare it, so Lake Michigan is much bigger than Israel. So that's how tiny Israel is, and we have 7 fronts. But it's not only because we have 7 fronts fighting a tiny country, it's also because I think the other fronts, and maybe other potential fronts, look at this war now and say, let's see if Israel can deal with a threat from Gaza, and if they can't, this is the right time for us to do what we planned for thousands of years, which is destroying Israel. Not thousands of years, but at least 76 years. The public says we have to ignore everything that happens in the world. They're just ignorant. They don't know what's really happening. Some have conspiracy theories of the United States doesn't want us to win wars because they could keep providing us with weapons, or many different kinds of conspiracy theories. But we have to win this war.
Men, and I have to add another perspective. We see every week people going on the streets saying the win, that we call it win, is to see the picture of the hostages coming back home. We don't know how many of them are alive. We don't know how many of them will return, or we can even find in the Gaza mud. But for a lot of Israelis, winning will be only the picture of hostages coming back home and see the families of the hostages having some peace, because this is the reason that we can't sleep at night. Until today. You saw the picture of Karina Arayev. She's already 20 years old, and her friends from the military service, they all should be back home so we all can continue with our lives. Thank you so much for inviting him. He's a great guy, right? I married him. Thank you. And let's have more of this. Thank you.
We would like to.
So Noah, thank you. That was a great segue. And again, please feel free. We have some more time to come up and ask some questions. Bobby Rector, I co-chair the Israel Connection Committee group. We'd like to say a prayer for the hostages. By the way, if you don't know, every Sunday at 10:30 there is a group that walks for hostages. It's an easy walk, somewhere between a half hour and an hour, depending on who's running it. If you're interested in joining us, we meet different places: Mequon, Shorewood, Glendale. It rotates. So we carry signs that say "Bring them home." We carry placards with the hostages on them. So please feel free to join us. God of Israel, our rock and our redeemer, God of mercy, of compassion, we pray, plead that you return these precious and beloved people, the captured and the missing, who have cruelly and heartlessly been torn from their homes and carried off to our enemy's territory. We are terrified contemplating their fate and horrified at the thought of what the missing and the captured are suffering right now. They lay beyond our reach and our capacity to save them. And so we plead before you, Father of mercy, be at their side, support them, protect them, and quickly bring them back to the embrace of their families and all who love them, as you have declared in Jeremiah. Thus says the Lord, behold, I will restore the captives of Jacob's tents and have mercy on their dwelling places. And in Genesis, we beseech you, Adonai, quickly fulfill your word. Here I am with you. I will watch over you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land. Indeed,